Hello, and welcome to the next tour with
Ian?
Andy. We're so happy to have you here with us today. This is episode 35, Transition and the Sea of Job Opportunities. So, again, a little on the career side of the house today, and Ian is going to introduce our guest.
Yes, so we are joined here with none other than Beau Higgins. He is a U.S. Marine Corps proud retiree, retired in August of 2014. From there, he spent some time at Amazon as the head of military programs. But what we're here to talk to him about today is over the last 3 years, he's been aligned with a company called Opline and, of course, many other veteran related ventures. So, Beau, over to you. Welcome so much. So glad to have
Awesome.
you.
Well, hey, thank you guys so much for having me here today, and really appreciate what you're doing for our military community and getting the word out. There's so much out there and a lot to sort through, and you're making a difference for folks that are trying to figure out their path as veterans and military spouses and across the military community. But as you noted, I've been working now for Opline for about 3 years. For those that are not familiar with Opline, Opline is a free resource for veterans, military spouses, student veterans that basically matches them to jobs. You enter in your rank, your MOS, your years of service, and it aligns you to jobs. And we can talk about it more, but a great free resource. So I've been doing that for 3 years. I also, about a year and a half ago, started working for a company called the Military Veteran. We do executive recruiting for veterans looking to get into the private equity and venture capital side of the house. So if you're interested in that world, I can talk about that a little bit. And more recently, even than that, the last 2 months ago, I just joined the board for Toys for Tots, a great nonprofit that is helping out underprivileged kids to get toys and books year round. Actually, no, we're not just for Christmas; we're year round. So great stuff.
That's
Thanks
so
for having me here.
cool.
Yeah. Oh, incredible.
Yeah,
So glad to have you.
awesome. Yeah, so let's talk, dig a little bit into your background and your experience and then, how you did end up at Opline. So share that story a little bit with our guests.
Yeah, so it's funny when I got out of the Marine Corps for 25 years, I had a brief stop at a company called Custom Cable, and I was helping build and install fiber optic cable, it was a great first job. I learned a ton, but something was definitely missing from like the give back factor there. And we actually did a couple installs at Amazon. And my boss was like, "Hey, go figure out how to sell more fiber optic cable to Amazon." I'm like, okay. So get on to LinkedIn, find Marine friends of mine that work at Amazon, and start reaching out to them. Like, hey, haven't talked for a while. How does Amazon buy fiber optic cable? They're like, we have no idea.
So very specific.
Exactly. But one of the people there, Kathleen Carroll, who had a Marine that I had worked with, she's like, "Hey, I don't know about that, but Amazon, Jeff Bezos just made a pledge to hire 30,000 veterans over the next 5 years, and we don't have a program in place. Would you be interested in joining our team?" And I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. I had no HR background at all, but went through the interview process at Amazon, which is pretty intense. And lo and behold, it worked out. So great. Got my first job there at Amazon. It's been 7 years at Amazon helping to build and develop veteran programs, student veteran programs, military spouse programs, skill bridge. I mean, you name it. If it touched veteran hiring, I got involved with. So that was awesome. And while I was at Amazon, we actually used the Opline tool to help us find and hire veterans. So I became very familiar with Opline while I was there. The way the tool works as a company, you pay for it to access veteran talent. It's free for the veteran, it's free for the military spouse. For a company to get into the talent, they pay us. So we at Amazon paid Opline to use it. So I was familiar with it. And that's kind of how I ended up at Opline. I spent 7 years at Amazon, but I was looking for something new, maybe a little smaller, maybe a little slower paced. Amazon is great, but can be pretty intense.
Right.
Upline guys were looking to grow and looking for someone to help them with business development. And it aligned with what I was doing and wanted to do. And that's how I got to Upline and been there
Oh,
now.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's really interesting. You hit on a couple of things that we've really pulled the thread on in other episodes. One, the networking piece. You know, get your LinkedIn updated. Make sure you keep your contacts fresh. You stay in touch with people because look at the pivot that you did. From installing and moving fiber optic installations at places to getting a completely different hard left turn or right turn or whatever into something you've never done before and landing into this space. But what I'm really interested in is if you could kind of pull the thread a little bit more on how does Opline kind of stand out? What's different about it in terms of the multitude of career transition tools out there? Not just for employers, but for prospective employees. Somebody like me, for example, if I were to look for my next job, how would I look at Opline and see that it makes a difference for me?
No, I'm happy to share that. And I'm gonna mention a little bit about what you said though about the networking piece. I mean, I say this all the time. Networking is everything, right? I always say your network is your net worth. And I stole that from
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Pepe Murphy blatantly, but truly, your network is what is going to get you hired. It's not applying through an ATS system. You're not going to get there from here. You need the help of your network to get hired, right?
That's
And
right.
this is what, and I'll tie in Opline to why Opline is so important and how it can help you with the networking piece, right? So imagine again, Ian, you're starting off your job search as a veteran. You're like, man, I was a MP in the Air Force. Okay, so I can be a cop. Is that it? No, there's a million things you can do, but you don't know it. You as a veteran have no idea that there are hundreds of companies that would love to hire you, but you don't know that. So you go to Opline, you build your profile. Yep, I was an MP in the Air Force 7 years. I went to these schools. I did these kind of things. I was also the safety guy, and I took this PMP course, whatever. You
Mm.
click off all these boxes, and you do that is to say, okay, Ian, based on that, here are companies that are hiring that have openings right now where you're a fit for. It's gonna be like, you can be like, holy smokes, there's jobs for me at Boeing and Nucor Steel and J&J, and I had no idea. Now, again, what Upline is going to do, I call it a targeting tool, right? It
Mhm.
helps you align your skills. It helps you build a skills-based resume and align your skills to the job market. From
Right.
there, 100% Upline will allow you to go, put an application in with those companies. But more importantly, it's like, okay, now I see that there's a job at Boeing. I'm going to figure out who my buddy is over at Boeing. And I'm going to say, hey, I saw job number 12345 in, Denver, Colorado. Can you help me talk to somebody at Boeing or whatever? Right. So it's
Mhm.
the first part to help you network better, right? Instead of walking up to somebody and saying, hey, what kind of a job do you have for me? Here's my resume. Like that's not going to get you anywhere, right? Upline will help you do the homework and the legwork up front to figure out where you align to the job market. And then to get into the end zone, to get hired, you're going to have to network most likely, 90%
Sure.
of the time. But this can really take out some of the guesswork of where to start and help you understand companies again that you may never have heard of in your life that are hiring in your hometown that want to hire you.
I love that. And I think that you really hit on something that resonated with me specifically as you talked about being able to map out and show the value of what an individual can bring. I think I have seen a lot of veterans struggle, particularly with trying to figure out what their value proposition is and get the blinders off of that they can only do something that directly aligned with what their MOS or AFSC or rate was, in their service time. But being able to see that the skills that you inherently have as a member of the armed forces are so much broader than that. I really, really appreciate you kind of opening that aperture a lot because it is tough to transition and figure out that the world is your oyster. So thank you for highlighting that. That really, really hit heavy with me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. And I'll say, it's because especially for folks in combat arms, you're a 0311 infantryman or 11 Bravo in the Army, right? You probably think, I mean, okay, I blow things up. Who's going to hire me, right? But if did you go to jump school or are you a jump master? If you were a jump master, you probably can do quality control. You can probably do safety. You can probably do, you probably had inventory management. I mean, things that you did every day that you don't think about and wouldn't put on your resume otherwise. It's not necessarily your primary MOS, right? But the tool allows you to click off boxes. Oh, yeah, I did that. Oh, yeah, I was in charge of that. I did those things. I'm a safety guy. And then that will open up the aperture for a lot more opportunities out there.
Definitely.
Yeah, one thing that I think we run into a lot in this career transition space is the fact that people don't know what they don't know. And I think the great thing that I love about Opline and looking at the tool and going through it with you and doing a couple of demos now, a plug for MOA. So the Military Officers Association of America does use Opline as our job board. And I think that I've had the opportunity to really dig deep, and you guys have given me a couple demos for it. And I think it's so powerful. And I think it is a piece of the broader puzzle, right? This is not the be all end all, you're going to get a job, but this is a stepping stone. And it also really helps, like you said, open your eyes up to the possibilities that are out there in a very purposeful way, which I think is really helpful. And so with that, I'd love to know, like, what's in the future for Opline. I know you guys are changing and growing and doing new things. So what's coming?
Yeah, a lot of stuff actually. It's pretty cool. So I mean, Opline, the nice thing about the Opline team, we're about 8 people, 9 people strong, so very small, so very flexible, and we're very good at taking feedback from our customers. Because we have paying customers that are companies, and one of the biggest things that companies want to know, as you might imagine, is, hey, is paying you for this? How many hires are we getting out of it? Are we
Mm-hmm.
so what's the ROI for it? And we used to have to say, and currently still have to say, hey, we can show you who you talk to, but you have to tell us in your system who you hired, right? Because once they go into the company's ATS system, we lose sight of the candidates. But we're actually building some tools that are going to allow us to send some surveys to the candidates, send scrape LinkedIn to see that jobs changed, and using some machine learning AI tools to figure out where people that use Opline are getting hired. So to be able to provide the ROI back to companies is a big, big deal. Whether for nonprofits too. Nonprofits want to know. So we give the Opline tool free to nonprofits. How are the candidates that are coming in and using the tool being successful? Is it helping them translate their skills to actually hire? So that's
Yeah,
one
I
of the
really
biggest
want to
things
know
we're
that.
doing. Yeah, I know. Hey, we're coming. It's coming. It's coming. Not there yet, but it's coming. The other thing we're trying to do is, our focus has been in the past primarily kind of working with Fortune 500 companies. That makes sense. That's where the big numbers are. But in reality, more veterans are hired at small businesses in aggregate than they are at big businesses.
Mm,
So we're trying to figure out, all right, how do we get the Opline tool down to states, to counties, to local
Mm,
chambers of commerce, right? And really want to give it to them for free at the end of the day, right? Because again, if you're a veteran, not every veteran wants to go back to Washington, D.C. or New York City or Boston, where a lot of the jobs are. They want to go back to Paducah, Kentucky, and to, Ascension Parish, Louisiana. And there's not a lot of jobs, but there's a guy that wants to hire a veteran, would love to hire a veteran at Mike's mechanic shop, but he has no budget for HR. Wouldn't it be cool if he for free could go on there and just, or for $20 go on there and use the
mhm.
tool and find a veteran in like small towns across the country. So
Yeah.
trying to kind of figure out how we can make the tool more impactful or more available for small businesses in small communities where a lot of veterans want to go back to, and people would love to hire veterans but don't know how.
mm.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And being able to really, touch like middle America or rural America, where folks want to go and they want to have a slower pace of life and be able to just reconnect with family and do those kinds of things. Yeah, being able to pull that off would be really, really, really impressive and impactful. So yeah, we're excited to see how that transforms. And of course, hopefully through this platform, we can help, entice folks who view this. If you want to get in touch with Beau and the Opline team, of course, all of your contact info will be in the show notes. We'll make sure that we get that out there. So please, please, please use this tool. Andy had demoed it on me, and I tell you what, I'm super impressed with it. And it opened my eyes, even though I'm already on job number 3 post military life. There's so much more out there that I could qualify for too, which is really, really incredible. I love it. I love what you guys are doing. So I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit on this, and I'd like to ask you a little bit about as you transitioned out of, a quarter century in the Marine Corps. Now that you're this far along and a couple of jobs passed, what would you tell yourself back then, as far as what you would do differently, what you would do the same? Kind of what advice would you give yourself? 10, 12 years removed.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think about it a lot. And the thing that I would say is that although I did transition successfully, I started way too late. And I think the reality that everyone in the military should embrace more fully is that at some point, everyone is going to leave the military. So in some ways, you're always transitioning, right? I mean,
True.
this is not a lifetime thing. It could be 3 years, could be 3 months, could be 30 years. At some point, you're leaving the military. Because of that, you should always, in some ways, think about transition and keep your resume up to date, keep your LinkedIn profile current. Because if you have to start, and again, in my case, the point of all this is don't wait too late to start transitioning, right? Don't wait till it's 1 month out, 3 months out. You should be thinking about it always, but certainly a year out, 18 months out. The more you can prepare, the better your transition is going to be. And that sounds so simple, but it is hard to do a lot of times. And I understand it. The pace of being deployed and you're overseas, I mean, you can't focus on that. You're focused on the job, and it's very hard to focus on transition when you're deployed. But I saw so many of my personal transitioning Marines that they're playing like that's their plan. Like, oh yeah, I'm going back home and I'm going to college and using the GI Bill. And I'm like, oh, where'd you apply to? Well, I haven't actually applied yet, but I know that's what my plan is, And then 6 months later, they're on mom's couch and they're like, man, I should have listened to the colonel. I should have done more. Why didn't I go to classes? Because I mean, the mindset of so many transitioning service members is, I just want to get the heck out of there. I am done. Especially the first termers, like don't just everything you say is white noise. Like blah blah Charlie Brown noise, right? And they don't it's not being processed. And then 6 months later, they're like, I should have listened to what the gunny was saying, right? I should have listened to the sergeant was telling me, trying to help me. And now I'm on mom's couch and I don't have access to TAP and I don't have access to all this stuff, right? So, start early is the gist of that. Now, again, there are tools like Opline that can help you. There are 100, organizations like a MOA or an ACP or so many organizations out there that can help you. Don't get me wrong. But if you want to have the best transition, start early and start always. I mean, from the day you come in, you should thinking about at some point you're getting out. Maintain your network. Don't just like go into the shell of the military and be lost for 25 years. Maintain some life outside the walls because you're going to go back at some point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Sound advice.
Yeah.
All those wisdom highlights, right? It means we've done something. There is some help in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a great point. I do get to see a lot of folks that are in the transition space from the first termers all the way, to those that are retiring after 30 years. And it amazes me when I check out some people's LinkedIn profiles and I'm helping them, build their profile and they have 150 contacts. And I'm like, you got to work on that. And I said, connect with me and then we'll start from there. But I think it's really sound advice. You should be starting. And a lot of people want to run up until that finish line, right? And they want to think they're adding value as much as they can to their military career for as long as they can, which is important, but you've got to be getting ready to go. And I love your thought process and this is something you used to say to your troops all the time, is that, we're all transitioning someday. And so you've got to be preparing for it all the time, at least in the back of your mind, or at least doing something toward that every day. I do
Yeah.
think it's
Uniform will come off, whether it's your choice or somebody else's. It will come off at some point. So
that's true.
be ready.
Hoping it's not the latter. So, Beau, this was super helpful. I think, obviously, like Ian said, we're going to drop stuff in the show notes so people can connect with you and can connect with Opline, through MOA or other places. But we'll share that information so folks can get to the tool and go in and utilize it and check it out. And we're going to shift gears a little bit to the fun part of the episode. We're going to know you a little bit better. So, I'm going to start out with what's in your rucksack. So, what's in your rucksack is a game we play that for you to tell us, when you were transitioning from military service, what's something you brought into your civilian life, maybe something you still think about today, and what did you chuck out and say, I'm leaving that behind?
Yeah, no, I thought that was a fun question that you asked. And the things that I would say is that the thing that I brought with me, at least I hope I brought with me, is the concept of leaders eat last, and that's something that, as an officer, a commanding officer, or just a leader in general, you always put your Marines first. You always put your soldiers, sailors, airmen first. And you took care of that, right? Whether it's making sure they got their evaluation on time, they got their awards taken care of, their promotion documentation, all that stuff. I mean, that's something that I think if you do that well in the military, your people will appreciate that and they will go the extra mile for you. So that concept of being that kind of leader, but that you eat last, the theoretically eat last means taking care of your people first. And if you take care of your people, they'll take care of you. You won't even have to take care of yourself because they will take care of you. So that's why I do things like, podcast and take care of others, and always am there to answer, LinkedIn messages and have one-on-ones with people that are transitioning. So just spend the time to do that. And again, if you do that, it will give back in spades. The other side of the coin, I think the thing that I certainly would leave behind is the idea of a zero defect mentality. I think in the military, we are programmed to that you have to be perfect. If there's one mistake, your career is going to be over, and that you can't fail, right? What I have learned, certainly on the civilian side of the house, is that it's okay to fail. We're gonna fail. Fail fast and learn from those failures.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try, because if you think you try and fail, you're gonna get in trouble. Now, as the military, we if you screw this up and you go outside the box, we're gonna hammer your ass, and mindset that a lot of people had, right? So it kept you from trying things, which is not the mentality you want in your
Mhm.
NCOs, in your junior folks. You want to give them that latitude to be able to try, but the military might say they were good at that, but at the end of the day, they were a little tight about that. And if you messed up, a lot of times it could be the end of your career. So I've left behind that zero defect mentality and moved to a place where I encourage people to try and fail, not just for the failure, but more importantly, to learn from that failure.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that resonates. Both of those aspects resonate with me so much. I think you and I are absolutely cut from the same cloth, Beau. Those things are wonderful. And yeah, not just fail fast, but fail forward. It gets into that learning mentality because it strengthens the organization, it strengthens the individual. And yeah, and then the subordinates, they take care of the leader because the mission's taken care of. All of that. It just, yeah, that really hits home for me. Thank you. Now I'm going to go into the other piece that we have fun with. It's called Two Truths and a Lie Military Style. So we're going to give you the opportunity to guess which one is the lie out of the three facts from our previous guest. So our previous guest, Benny Barone, a fellow retired colonel, Air Force Security Forces like I was, he came on, and you get the opportunity to see what was not his truth. So number one, he has climbed Mount Washington in New Hampshire. He has three daughters and he ran the Marine Corps Marathon. Which one was the lie? And I know you don't know him
I'm
from
going to
Adam.
go with he has three daughters.
You got it right.
Yeah,
He has four.
he has
That's
four.
usually okay. I'm working on that. All right. Good. Good.
Yeah,
Good.
that's awesome. Yeah, so yeah, Benny certainly went outside the box on that one. So excellent. You got that one right. And so, Beau, over to you. You're going to give us your three facts, and we'll let our next guest have the opportunity to see which one was your lie. So over to you, good sir.
All right. My two truths and a lie are, uh, I have met two presidents of the United States. I have never eaten a banana. I have been to all 50 states in the United States.
I like all of
Those are
those. Yeah,
good.
those are really good. But again, we're going to let our next guest see what that one is. So, Beau, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a joy to have you here. And, I got the opportunity to be on your podcast, which we actually didn't, it's called Opcast. So, just published a few days ago. So thanks for having me on. I mean,
and we'll
I
link
didn't
that,
mention
of
that.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But Bo, it was great to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. And I think, this will be something that folks will use for a very long time. Looking forward to seeing where Offline continues to go in the future. But thank you so much for joining us today. You all can find us, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, of course, and connect with us, connect with Bo, and we'll see you next time on the next tour.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Pleasure being here.
The views, opinions, and advice expressed by our guest on the next tour are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast, Andia, or any affiliated organizations. While we strive to provide helpful and accurate information, this podcast is for informational purposes only. We encourage listeners to consult with professionals or conduct their own research before making any significant decisions related to military transition or post-service life. The content is intended as guidance and personal perspective, not as official advice.